Buster, how do you know if any of this stuff is true?
What do you mean?
How do you know someone didn't just make it up?
What? You mean just lie? You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
I just mean that some of the details...
Whoa, I never thought of that. This is terrible. What if none of it's true?
Blake Lively got absolutely demolished in court yesterday, and by the end of that ruling, her lawsuit had fewer surviving claims than Ryan Reynolds has delayed projects. For over a year, we have been told this giant story about a powerless victim, a hostile set, a sinister conspiracy, and a woman who was supposedly crushed by everybody around her. Then Judge Liman came in with a 152-page ruling and started tearing that entire narrative apart. Blake filed 13 claims. 13 huge accusations that were supposed to blow this case wide open. But filing 13 claims does not mean you get to keep 13 claims. It just means you gave the judge 13 chances to start cutting. Once you drag that many accusations into court, you are basically handing a judge permission to dump your entire professional life out on the table, dig through every contract, every email, every text, every little power move, and leave you standing there with 3 surviving claims and a look on your face like you just realized the receipts were never on your side. But to understand the absolute collapse of this legal strategy, we have to look at the trap this celebrity built for herself. The sexual harassment claims did not survive. Neither did the hostile work environment claims. Defamation was thrown out, and conspiracy went with it. The labor code claims were wiped away, and the whistleblower protections disappeared too. So how does a legal nuclear weapon turn into a wet firecracker overnight? The answer is hiding in the exact thing she demanded before the cameras even started rolling: power. You see, the entire foundation of a Title VII workplace harassment claim relies on one crucial detail. You have to actually be an employee. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be subject to the control of an employer who holds your fate in their hands. That was the story sold to the public. But the paperwork told a completely different story. Behind closed doors, Blake Lively structured her contracts to give herself ultimate authority. She did not just want a paycheck, she wanted total control. She was paid through her own loan-out company. She secured pay or play protection. She demanded and received sweeping creative rights. She held approval power over major decisions. She held veto power over the things she did not like. She had so much leverage, so much institutional authority on that set, that she was practically a silent partner in the exact same production company she later claimed was destroying her. Think about the psychological disconnect required to pull that off. You spend months presenting yourself to the world as a helpless employee, trapped in a toxic environment. Meanwhile, your own legal team is holding contracts that prove you had script influence, wardrobe approvals, marketing input, and enough raw bargaining power to make half the crew wonder who was actually directing the movie. The judge looked at this mountain of executive-level power, looked at her claim that she was a powerless employee, and basically said, "Girl, please." The court found she was functioning as an independent contractor, and just like that, the legal dominoes began to fall. Because she was not an employee under the law, the Title VII sexual harassment claim instantly died. The Title VII retaliation claim was thrown out. The California Labor Code claims went with it, and the whistleblower protections disappeared right behind them. She had successfully negotiated so much power for herself that she legally locked herself out of the very protections she tried to claim. It is a stunning irony. Her own demand for absolute control became the exact weapon the judge used to dismantle her victimhood narrative. But the collapse of the employee argument was just the first tremor in what was about to become a legal earthquake. Every time her lawyers tried to argue that she was at the mercy of a toxic power dynamic, her own emails and negotiation logs kept surfacing to remind the court that she was one of the most heavily protected individuals in the industry. She had a fortress of lawyers. She had top-tier agents. She had contractual safety nets that most working actors will never even see in their lifetimes. You simply cannot spend months aggressively negotiating for untouchable executive status and then walk into a courtroom claiming you were a helpless hourly worker with no agency. The court was completely unmoved by the emotional narrative because the paperwork was screaming a completely different reality. And then we arrive at the geographic puzzle. This is where the legal strategy goes from aggressively ambitious to almost comically desperate. Her legal team desperately wanted California law to apply to this case. Why? Because California law is notoriously favorable to these specific types of claims. There was just one massive, unavoidable problem. The alleged conduct did not happen in California. It mostly happened in New Jersey. But a minor detail like geography was not going to stop a Hollywood legal team. They started throwing everything at the wall to magically drag the state of California into a New Jersey dispute. They started scraping together every California connection they could find. Somebody sent a text from there. Somebody took a Zoom call there. One producer happened to be sitting there for part of the process. It was a strategy of desperation and felt less like a coherent legal argument and more like someone blindly throwing darts at a map of the United States. Someone lives there. Someone texted from there. Someone probably ate a salad there. Therefore, the laws of that state must govern the entire universe. It was an argument built on the arrogant assumption that California law should apply simply because the celebrity in question prefers it. The judge was absolutely not buying it. In the ruling, the judge referred to the California connection as slight. In the polite, highly sanitized language of the federal judiciary, the word slight is absolutely devastating. It is the legal equivalent of a judge looking over their glasses and telling you to stop wasting the court's time. With that single word, the California harassment claims were wiped off the map. The choice of law cheat code was destroyed, but hiding underneath the deleted claims and the rejected geography was a secret so embarrassing it almost defies belief. It involves the most critical piece of paper in the entire lawsuit, the Actress Loanout Agreement. This was the document her team kept referencing. It was the foundational text of her legal argument. It was treated with the reverence of a sacred scroll. There was only one tiny flaw: it was never signed. The judge combed through pages of exhibits, emails, and declarations, only to conclude that this supposedly ironclad agreement was never finalized. It was never fully executed. It was never legally binding. Imagine the sheer hubris required to build half of a massive federal lawsuit around a contract that legally has the exact same binding authority as a napkin sketch. It is profoundly poetic. It is the perfect metaphor for this entire spectacle. Big, dramatic language, sweeping, world-ending claims, absolute unshakable confidence in front of the cameras. But the moment you get close enough to actually inspect the machinery, you realize half the parts are missing. No signatures, weak evidence, barely any legal foundation. She wanted to unleash an inferno on her enemies, and the judge handed her a single wet match. Now, what about the defamation claims? The ones meant to punish anyone who dared speak against her? Brian Friedman had publicly called her allegations revoltingly false. He stated on the record that she was weaponizing harassment claims purely to seize more creative control. He accused her of orchestrating a smear campaign to repair her own damaged reputation. She tried to sue over those exact words. She wanted the court to silence the criticism. Instead, the judge looked at the context and ruled that every single one of those statements was completely protected under the litigation privilege. They were made in connection with a legal dispute, which means they are untouchable. So now, those brutally critical statements are permanently etched into the public record, fully protected by the law, while her defamation claims are buried in the judicial cemetery next to everything else. She even tried to bring a false light claim, completely ignoring the fact that New York law does not even recognize false light as a valid cause of action. It was a claim that was legally dead the moment it was printed. It is the equivalent of showing up to a maximum security vault with a library card and demanding access. The conspiracy claim suffered the exact same fate. You cannot have a conspiracy to commit underlying torts if all the underlying torts have just been thrown out of court. The judge simply took a pair of scissors to the sprawling web of accusations she had spun. She had tried to weave a narrative of a massive, coordinated attack involving Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, crisis PR firms, aggressive lawyers, thirsty media outlets, random YouTubers, and anonymous internet commenters. It was supposed to be the ultimate story of a woman besieged by the world. But federal judges do not award damages for good storytelling. They do not care how many times a headline was repeated. They do not care about the volume of your public sympathy campaign. You cannot walk into a federal courtroom with a mountain of vibes and expect the judge to fill in the evidentiary blanks. But wait, did anything survive? Yes. And this is where the ultimate twist in this psychological drama finally reveals itself. Out of 13 explosive claims, she kept 3 scraps. 1 retaliation claim, 1 minor contract rider dispute, and 1 aiding and abetting retaliation claim. Her PR machine will try to spin this as a victory. They will say the judge validated her case because it is going to trial. The judge did find genuine issues of fact regarding whether the Wayfarer PR campaign crossed a legal line. There are ugly text messages. There are PR operatives talking about burying stories without writing them down. There are discussions about how she was weaponizing feminism. There is evidence of a digital campaign designed to be untraceable. A jury will indeed get to hear about the nasty, behind-the-scenes mudslinging of Hollywood public relations. But look at what is actually going to trial, compared to the apocalyptic narrative she spent a year selling to the public. She allowed the world to believe this was a landmark sexual harassment case that would expose horrifying, predatory behavior and burn Hollywood to the ground. She let the public project their own traumas onto her story. The only thing the jury will be deciding is whether or not the opposing PR team was too mean to her after the relationship broke down. It is the difference between exposing a dangerous predator and arguing over who hired the more aggressive publicist. This is not the blockbuster courtroom thriller Blake spent a year selling to the public. In my opinion, this is the story of a Hollywood power couple with too much hubris, not enough talent, and a belief that they could walk onto somebody else's movie set, take over the franchise, control the narrative, and still play the victim when it all blew up in their faces. Once you strip away the glossy magazine covers, the carefully curated leaks, the weaponized empathy, and Ryan Reynolds hovering in the background like a multi-million-dollar emotional support cardigan, there is almost nothing left. A retaliation claim, a contract rider dispute, and a pile of dismissed allegations. She walked into the arena acting like she possessed a flamethrower and walked out with a scented candle and a receipt for a PR war. For over a year, she operated under the delusion that she was completely untouchable. Every negative story was framed as systemic misogyny. Every valid criticism was labeled as targeted harassment. Every time someone pushed back against her demands, it was called retaliation. Every contradiction in her story was spun as proof that the universe was conspiring against her. Amber Heard needed a globally televised, multi-week trial to expose the flaws in her narrative. Blake Lively only needed her own legal filings. She built a trap for her enemies, demanded the power to control it, and then accidentally locked herself inside. The ultimate irony of this entire spectacle is that the only person Blake Lively successfully exposed was herself.
That's my opinion!